Some characters may be fictionalized, but the story you're about to explore is grounded in real events. In the aftermath of World War II, as tensions lingered in the skies, U.S. Air Force mechanics came across the Mi-173 Comet, an innovative yet dangerous German aircraft. As they meticulously examined this rocket-powered marvel, they couldn't help but chuckle at the peculiarities of its design, most notably the volatile nature of its fuel, which could erupt at the slightest mix. This encounter not only highlights the unexpected humor found in the aftermath of conflict, but also underscores the complexities of wartime technology and the responses of those who inherited it. Join us as we delve into this intriguing chapter of aviation history. Subscribe to our channel for access to well-researched facts and rare perspectives that bring history to life. With regular uploads, we offer clear explanations and engaging storytelling that provide deeper insights into the past. Don't miss out on this opportunity to expand your understanding of pivotal moments and figures that shaped our world. Join our community today. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the airfield in the summer of 1945, a sense of peculiar camaraderie began to surface among the U.S. Air Force mechanics gathered around the sleek, rocket-like fuselage of the Mi-163 Comet. The captured German aircraft, with its unique design and unusual fuel requirements, had become a subject of both curiosity and jest among the American personnel. They joked about the perilous nature of its propellant, a highly volatile mix of hydrazine and nitric acid, and how simple mistakes could lead to catastrophic explosions. Such levity masked an undercurrent of unease, a recognition that this marvel of engineering signified both the ingenuity of the enemy and the dangerous edge of modern warfare. One mechanic, Sergeant Dave Harlow, leaned against the slick surface of the Comet, his hands resting on his hips as he gestured animatedly to his colleagues. "Can you imagine?" He laughed. "Your plane goes up in flames just because the fuel decided it wanted to dance with itself." His laughter was infectious, echoing through the airfield, a discordant note that momentarily distracted them from the grim realities of war. Yet beneath the humor lay a profound respect for the aircraft's design, a realization that such ingenuity could just as easily have been used against them in ways they could not yet fully comprehend. In contrast to the laughter surrounding it, the Comet's sleek form represented a pivotal moment in aviation history. Designed to be the world's first rocket-powered fighter, it embodied the cutting-edge technology of its time. As they inspected the fuselage, mechanics recognized the craftsmanship that had gone into the aircraft. Its wooden wings, clad in a thin layer of metal, housed a complex system of controls that would have required extraordinary skill to operate. The mechanics, often entrenched in routine maintenance of their own aircraft, found themselves analyzing the Comet with a mix of admiration and disbelief at its radical departure from conventional design. With each examination of its parts, they uncovered not only the complexities of its engineering, but also a deeper narrative of the war itself. The Mi-163 had been born out of desperation, a late-game effort by German forces to regain air superiority against the overwhelming might of Allied air power. It was a testament to their innovative spirit, birthed in the chaos of a crumbling regime. Yet for the American mechanics, it represented an opportunity. It was a piece of history they could analyze and integrate into their greater understanding of aviation, a discipline in which their own country was rapidly advancing with each passing day. As they gathered around the cockpit, their laughter faded, giving way to focused discussion. They examined the control panel, which seemed almost a relic of a fever dream with its array of dials and buttons designed for a user experience that felt alien. Chief Mechanic, Corporal Alan Foster, pointed out the intricacies of the throttle controls necessary for the rocket engine to function. "It's like piloting a bomb," he remarked, His words resonated as they each contemplated the fine line between flight and disaster inherent in the aircraft. They recognized that while the comet was revolutionary, it also bore witness to the darker aspects of technological progress during wartime, where creativity was often intertwined with destruction. Meanwhile, the ground crew worked in tandem, meticulously documenting their findings about the comet's construction and performance. These notes would later contribute to a comprehensive intelligence report that would inform future aircraft designs and strategies. Every detail mattered. What seemed trivial to some could reveal critical insights into the mindsets of those who had built it. The relentless quest for superiority in the air was mirrored in the comet itself, which had been both a marvel and a challenge to those who dared to fly it. As the mechanics scribbled their observations, they felt a shared responsibility to honor the aircraft's legacy, albeit one born from conflict. Outside the shadow of the aircraft, the faint sounds of the evening's preparations filled the air. The hum of other ground crews working on their own aircraft drew their attention, a reminder of the collective effort that defined the Allied forces. Yet, despite the shared objective, there was a quiet acknowledgement of the isolation each individual felt in their unique roles. The war was far from over, and the specter of uncertainty loomed large. The comet, with all its strangeness, became a focal point for their anxieties, a tangible representation of the unknowns still to come. As night crept in, the mechanics began to wrap up their inspection, their laughter replaced by a contemplative silence. The comet stood as a monument to their shared experiences of fears faced and challenges overcome. It was a moment suspended in time where the weight of history pressed upon their shoulders like a heavy cloak. They understood that the decisions made in the coming years would shape the course of aviation and warfare, and within the odd lines of the comet lay insights they had yet to fully grasp. As they prepared to leave, each mechanic took one last look at the aircraft, a silent promise exchanged between them and the remnants of their opponent's ingenuity. As the United States pushed further into Europe during the final months of World War II, the remnants of German technological innovation began to reveal themselves to the Allied forces. Among the many captured aircraft, the Me-163 Comet stood out as a peculiar artifact of German engineering, its sleek design and rocket propulsion system a testament to a level of innovation that many U.S. Air Force personnel had never before encountered. When a group of American mechanics gathered to inspect the comet at a makeshift hangar in a liberated airfield, they approached it with a mixture of awe and skepticism, their laughter often punctuating their conversations as they considered the strange mechanics behind the warplane. The comet's design was revolutionary, yet disconcerting. As they circled the aircraft, the mechanics noted its distinctive profile, reminiscent of a dart, but marked by an unsettling absence of conventional features. The aircraft's construction was lightweight, employing wood and fabric materials that stood in stark contrast to the sturdier metal frames of American fighters. The U.S. Air Force mechanics exchanged jokes about the comet's peculiar features, each quip layered with an unspoken realization of the capabilities this machine possessed. For them, the laughter served not just as a coping mechanism in the face of a brutal conflict, but as a boundary, separating the grim realities of war from the absurdities of the technologies employed. Their laughter faded when they learned about the comet's fuel, a volatile mix of hydrazine and methanol that could ignite with a mere spark. The mechanics shared a moment of incredulity as they absorbed the gravity of this revelation. The very substance that powered this cutting-edge interceptor could explode upon contact, a stark reminder of the limits of human ingenuity when married to desperation. This juxtaposition of advanced technology and perilous fuel mirrored the conflict raging around them, a struggle where innovation sometimes veered towards the reckless in an effort to gain the upper hand. The mechanics, grounded in their own experiences of practical engineering, could not help but marvel at the lengths to which the German forces had gone in their pursuit of aerial superiority. As the mechanics began disassembling components of the comet for closer inspection, they unearthed design elements that spoke volumes about the engineering philosophies ingrained within it. The rocket engine, a marvel of engineering in itself, seemed almost a distant cousin to the piston engines of the American fighters. It reflected a paradigm shift that had occurred as desperation fueled ambition within German ranks. A mechanic named Sergeant John Hargrove, with grease-stained hands, crouched near the engine and traced the lines of the fuel feed systems, remarking, "They must have loved to live on the edge." Ah! His words lingered in the air, resonating with the complexities of a war-born mindset that oscillated between brilliance and folly. As days passed, the mechanics grew increasingly fascinated by the comet's design, each discovery adding layers to their understanding of the aircraft and the mindset of those who had created it. Among them was Sergeant Edna McKinley, one of the few women serving in the maintenance unit whose expertise in aircraft technology had been honed on the assembly lines back in the States. She mused about the comet, noting how it represented the ultimate gamble. The idea that speed could counteract the shortcomings of weight and armor. Her observant nature allowed her to see a deeper symbolism within the aircraft. It was an embodiment of an ideology that sought to outpace not just the enemy in the skies, but the very limits of scientific understanding. As they dismantled the aircraft, the mechanics noted not just the technical aspects, but the remnants of decisions made under immense pressure. Every bolt that held the comet together carried the weight of its creator's hopes and fears. They discussed the implications of such engineering choices, pondering whether the relentless pursuit of speed had made the comet an object of obsession rather than a viable instrument of war. In their conversations, the mechanics began to see parallels between their own wartime experiences and the desperate measures taken by German forces. Each laugh shared around the aircraft became infused with a bittersweet awareness of the shared human tendency to innovate in times of crisis. The comet also served as a stark contrast to the aircraft designed by the American forces, whose development was rooted in practicality and a focus on collective survival rather than singular brilliance. The mechanics spoke of their own planes, grounded in teamwork and reliability, which often translated into more robust designs that could endure the rigors of combat. The comet stood as a symbol of the German obsession with technological supremacy, offering a glimpse into a mindset that could be both visionary and tragically short-sighted. It was a reminder that even the most admirable advancements could arise from the ashes of desperation and turmoil. As the group ended each day of work, the mechanics would gather around their makeshift tables, sharing stories of their homes and the lives they'd left behind. In the shadow of the comet, they found solace in each other's company, their laughter echoing through the hangar like a rallying cry against the backdrop of an uncertain future. It became increasingly clear that the strips of fabric and metal they were disassembling were more than just remnants of a foreign war machine. They were artifacts holding the weight of ambition, fear, and the human spirit's relentless quest for survival. Through the comet, the mechanics forged a new understanding of their adversaries, acknowledging that brilliance and folly sometimes walked hand in hand on the turbulent path of war. In the aftermath of the war, the landscape of aviation technology evolved rapidly, with various nations seeking to understand and adapt the innovations developed by others. On a crisp autumn day in September 1945, a group of U.S. Air Force mechanics gathered around an unusual aircraft, the Me-163 Comet, housed at a makeshift facility in an abandoned Luftwaffe hangar in Germany. The Comet, an ambitious attempt at jet propulsion, stood as a stark reminder of the conflict's brutal innovations. Its bizarre, rocket-like structure was both captivating and confounding, a relic of a time when the skies were contested with the fervor of desperate ingenuity. As the mechanics inspected the aircraft, their hands brushed against the smooth, cold metal with a mix of awe and disbelief. Many had read reports of the Mi-163's speed and its role in intercepting Allied bombers. Yet standing before it, the awe transformed into a shared humor as they discovered the intricacies of its fuel system. The Comet relied on a propellant mix of hydrazine and a corrosive oxidizer, which could ignite upon mere contact. The absurdity of a plane that could explode merely from mixing its own fuel drew a series of hearty laughs among them, a gallows humor that encapsulated the absurdity of war and the lengths to which human imagination could stretch under duress. Their laughter echoed against the walls of the hangar, a bittersweet sound that mingled with the remnants of conflict lingering in the air. Amidst the camaraderie, however, an undercurrent of realization surfaced. This humor was not simply a reflection of their own bravery in facing such oddities, but a testament to the absurdity of mankind's relentless pursuit of power. The Comet, with its complicated fueling system and rapid ascent to glory, symbolized the race against the clock and the dangers of technological advancement unfettered by moral considerations. A technician named Bill, who had served in the Pacific Theater, spoke up. "You'd think they'd learn after the first few explosions," he quipped, rolling his eyes as he jotted down notes in his weathered logbook. His voice broke the momentary silence, prompting others to share similar stories of learning from mistakes. It was a small moment of levity amidst the gravity of their tasks, yet it served as a poignant reminder of the lessons learned through hardship and the instinctive drive to survive, even when that meant laughing at the very machines intended to kill. While the mechanics continued their inspection, they began to contemplate the implications of the aircraft's design. The Comet's potential, its ability to soar rapidly through the air, offered a glimpse into the future of warfare. But it also brought to light the inherent risks associated with such power. Each mechanic, armed with their own experiences from the war, understood that technology does not operate in a vacuum. Instead, it evolves alongside the human spirit that creates and wields it. The Comet embodied this duality, an engineering marvel tempered by the recklessness of its origins. In the weeks following their encounter with the Comet, discussions among the mechanics often turned towards the nature of warfare itself. Their reflections were not simply about the aircraft, but also about the broader implications of technology in society. The Comet had the potential to revolutionize air combat, yet it also served as a harbinger of the destructive capabilities that lay ahead in the Cold War. Each mechanic grappled with the question, would advancements in technology lead to a safer world, or merely one fraught with greater dangers? The irony was not lost on them, as they labored over an aircraft that could decimate in seconds while simultaneously engaging in the act of preservation. The inspections transitioned into a routine, yet the humor lingered, transforming into a shared bond among the men. They exchanged tales of their respective duties, recounting the absurd and the harrowing. This camaraderie, born out of mutual understanding and a shared history, began to shift the context of their work. What had initially been an effort to document and dismantle an enemy aircraft became an exploration of their own humanity, a quest to not only process the past but also to redefine their roles as stewards of the future. As they delved deeper into the mechanics of the Comet, the realization of its fuel's volatility echoed in their minds, a poignant metaphor for the tensions of their own existence. The very substance that made the aircraft a potential threat was also a reminder of the fragility of their own lives, shaped by conflict but striving toward peace. This duality played out in their day-to-day interactions, as they balanced their mechanical duties with thoughtful conversations about the implications of air power and its influence on global dynamics. Ultimately, the mechanics' work with the Comet was more than just a technical endeavor. It was a necessary confrontation with the legacies of their past actions and the futures they wished to build. Each bolt they tightened and each piece they inspected resonated with the desire for a different future, one where laughter could replace the terror of war. In those moments among the remnants of a once-feared technology, they found a flicker of hope, a symbol of resilience in a world forever changed. The Comet sat under the pallid afternoon sun, its sleek fuselage resembling a predatory bird poised to take flight. The U.S. Air Force mechanics gathered around, their hands stained with oil and their minds buzzing with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. They examined every inch of the aircraft, their laughter echoing across the tarmac when they learned about its volatile propellant, a combination of hydrazine and methanol that could ignite with the simplest of actions. To them, the idea that such a machine could operate on a fuel so notoriously volatile seemed more like a cruel joke than an engineering marvel. Yet hidden beneath their laughter was a profound respect for the ingenuity that had brought the Mi-163 to life, even as they marveled at the reckless design choices that characterized the German forces' last-ditch efforts to turn the tide of the war. As they delved deeper into the aircraft's systems, one mechanic noted the distinctive absence of safety features. "Guess they figured they only needed to hold off the Allies for a little while," he remarked, shaking his head. The Comet was emblematic of a desperate race against time, a technological wonder birthed from the ashes of a failing strategy. It was a prototype that reflected not just innovation, but an unsettling urgency, one that mirrored the ambitions and failures of those who designed it. For the mechanics, it became a symbol, a physical manifestation of what happens when desperation fuels progress, where the line between brilliance and folly blurs dangerously. With every layer they peeled back, the men unearthed bits of history entwined in the mechanics of the Comet. It was a testament to the convergence of science and warfare, an understanding that pushed the limits of engineering in the face of impending defeat. The aircraft was not merely a tool of war, it was an embodiment of the era's spirit, one that craved supremacy in the skies while flirting with catastrophe. In its very design, the Comet captured the zeitgeist of an age marked by rapid technological advancements, where the thrill of innovation often overshadowed the ethical implications of its application. The mechanics exchanged stories of aircraft they had known, legends and anecdotes that highlighted the juxtaposition of their own experiences against the backdrop of the Comet's brief service life. Each story carried a weight of nostalgia, a reminder of the aircraft they had flown and the missions they had undertaken. The Comet stood as a stark contrast to the methods they employed, the meticulous calculations, the endless testing, and the rigorous safety protocols that governed their work. It was a revelation that underscored the divergent philosophies toward air combat between the U.S. and German forces, emphasizing not just differences in technology, but in the very values that shaped their military doctrines. As they scrutinized the cockpit, one mechanic noted the cramped design, where every inch seemed to have been sacrificed for aerodynamics. "Looks like they just wanted to make it go faster," he mused aloud, recalling the ergonomics of the P-51 Mustang. The Comet's pilot was to endure not just the physical constraints of the space, but also the psychological weight of operating a machine that could explode at a moment's notice. It was an ironic twist of fate that resonated with the crew, as they realized that what was perceived as a technological edge could equally be a death sentence. The laughter that once filled the air now transformed into a thoughtful silence as they grappled with the implications of such recklessness. Amidst the banter, one mechanic suddenly grew serious. "You know, for all its issues, this thing could have changed everything if it had been mass-produced. Imagine if they'd gotten it into the hands of more pilots." His voice trailed off, and the others nodded, acknowledging the unspoken truth. Each of them had seen how wars could shift with a single innovation, how one technological breakthrough could alter the course of battle. Even in their laughter, they felt the weight of history pressing down, the awareness that these machines charted fates, not just for soldiers, but for entire nations. The comet, with its jagged wings and menacing silhouette, represented the duality of innovation, a soaring ambition tempered by the very real consequences of miscalculation. As the mechanics continued their inspection, they took note of the craftsmanship that spoke not only of engineering skill, but also of a mindset often driven by unyielding resolve. They found themselves reflecting on the broader implications of such designs and the human toll that often accompanied them. Each rivet and curve was a testament to the hands that shaped it, but also to the desperation that gave it life. With the sun dipping low in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the tarmac, the crew's dialogue shifted from technical assessments to philosophical ruminations. They began to ponder the future of aviation and warfare. In their minds, the Mi-163 was not an end but a beginning, a harbinger of the future that would see jet propulsion and advanced design become the norm rather than the exception. The laughter that had first marked their encounter with the comet evolved into a quiet acknowledgement of the ways history could surprise, just as it had led them here to this moment of introspection and revelation. As they wrapped up their inspection, the mechanics felt a profound sense of responsibility. They were not just caretakers of their own aircraft, but stewards of a legacy fraught with both potential and peril. The comet, despite its flaws, encapsulated the relentless pursuit of progress, a reminder that while some choices were made in the spirit of survival, others carried the weight of unintended consequences. They turned away from the aircraft, knowing they would carry its lessons forward, not just in their work, but as a living testament to the complexities of war, innovation, and the human condition itself. As the mechanics gathered around the sleek, unconventional shape of the Mi-163 comet, the atmosphere buzzed with a mixture of curiosity and incredulity. The comet, with its stubby wings and jet-like fuselage, stood as an emblem of technological ambition, a product of desperate ingenuity from the German forces during the final years of the conflict. Its design defied the conventions of conventional aircraft. It was a testament to engineering prowess, but also a reflection of the challenges that came with extreme speed and limited operational time. To the mechanics, it was a puzzle that begged to be solved, an enigma wrapped in secrets of war. As the lead mechanic, Sergeant First Class Bill Hartman, approached the aircraft, he felt a brief flutter of apprehension. His mind was both fascinated and wary, aware that the comet's power came from its volatile fuel mixture, a concoction of hydrazine and methanol, which, when combined, created a lethal and explosive reaction. This peculiar aspect of the aircraft drew laughter and disbelief from the men surrounding him. They had worked with their fair share of aircraft fuels, but found this particular one to be an absurdity. It seemed almost comical to them. The very notion that simply mixing two chemicals could yield a blast powerful enough to obliterate the aircraft and its immediate vicinity. Yet, it was not lost on the mechanics that this absurdity was rooted in a grim reality. The Comet was designed to offer a tactical advantage against enemy bombers, capable of reaching altitudes and speeds that were previously unimaginable. This ambition, however, came at a cost. The very technology that promised to secure air superiority was fraught with the inherent dangers of its engineering. The men chuckled as they recalled the stories of air crews who had been incinerated due to fuel mishaps, recognizing that the humor served as a coping mechanism, a way to mitigate the tension that came with handling such volatile machinery. With their laughter still echoing, the mechanics set to work, meticulously inspecting the aircraft. They marveled at its innovative features, the swept-back wings optimized for speed, and its rocket propulsion system, which, despite its perilous fuel, promised breathtaking performance. Hartmann noticed the fine lines and curves, acknowledging that the comet represented more than just a weapon. It was an artifact of the era's relentless drive towards technological mastery. This aircraft encapsulated the desperate measures taken by the German forces as they attempted to reclaim the skies, a last-ditch effort to tip the scales of war as their resources dwindled. While engineers in Germany had envisioned the comet as a game-changer, the mechanics understood its limitations. The aircraft could only operate for a brief, exhilarating few minutes before it was forced to land, a stark reminder that speed was no substitute for endurance in a protracted conflict. This dichotomy between aspiration and reality resonated deeply with Hartmann and his crew. They often found parallels between their own endeavors to maintain and repair aging aircraft and the ambitions of the German engineers who had given life to the comet. Fueled by urgency, the mechanics reflected on their position in the war, realizing that they too were part of a larger narrative, one marked by innovation and desperation. As the inspection continued, the mechanics exchanged stories, their camaraderie serving as a balm against the backdrop of the global conflict. They discussed the various aircraft they had serviced, contrasting the Comet with the more traditional and reliable bombers and fighters they were accustomed to. This juxtaposition was illustrative. While the Comet represented the futuristic aspirations of war, the older models symbolized resilience and the gritty practicality that had defined their own efforts throughout the war effort. Each story shared became a thread in a tapestry of experiences that united them in their mission. While they worked, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the tarmac. The laughter that had filled the air was gradually replaced by a more reflective silence. Hartmann found himself contemplating the paradox of the comet. It was a marvel of engineering, yet also a potential harbinger of destruction. As he adjusted the wing flaps, he could not shake the feeling that this aircraft was caught in the same web of ambition and hubris that had ensnared many nations throughout history. The comet was a reflection of the human condition, an embodiment of the drive to conquer the skies, even as the ground beneath was crumbling. With the inspection wrapping up, Hartmann gathered his men and shared a final thought. "This aircraft is a testament to what we can create when pushed to the edge," he said, his voice steady yet introspective. "But let's remember, it also shows us the perils of our ambitions. We have to tread carefully, for in our pursuit of greatness, we may find ourselves facing consequences we never expected." The mechanics nodded, appreciating the weight of his words. They understood that amidst the laughter and levity, there remained a sobering truth about the nature of their work and the broader conflict that enveloped them. Each aircraft they handled, whether an old warhorse or a fresh marvel, carried a legacy that transcended their immediate purpose. As they walked away from the comet, the mechanics shared one last chuckle over the absurdity of its fuel, a reminder of the ironic twists of fate that the war had thrust upon them. Yet, beneath the humor lay a shared understanding. The laughter was not merely an act of levity, but a recognition of their role in a historic struggle, a role entwined with the very fabric of innovation and sacrifice that characterized their time. The comet, in its fleeting moments of brilliance, encapsulated a war of paradoxes, where technology was both a weapon and a witness to the human spirit's relentless pursuit of mastery over the skies. The air around the makeshift hangar buzzed with a mixture of excitement and skepticism as the U.S. Air Force mechanics gathered around the Me-163 Comet. Its sleek, rocket-powered design stood in stark contrast to the more familiar, rugged aircraft they had serviced during the war. Each mechanic, donning their olive-green jumpsuits and leather gloves, was struck by the Comet's futuristic silhouette, a testament to German engineering that defied conventional understanding. As they examined the aircraft, a mix of reverence and disbelief coursed through the crowd, amplified by the whispers of what the aircraft represented. They were aware that this was not merely a piece of machinery, it was a symbol of the technological divergence that had occurred during the conflict. The mechanics quickly gravitated toward the aircraft's most notorious feature, its fuel system. They exchanged incredulous glances when it became clear that the fuel, a mix of hydrazine and hydrogen peroxide, was not only highly volatile, but deadly when combined. In their collective experience, even the most dangerous aviation fuels had required careful handling. Yet here was a mixture capable of spontaneous combustion. One mechanic, his brow furrowed in bemusement, quipped that the Comet's fuel was more temperamental than a cat in a bathtub. Laughter erupted briefly before dissipating into an unspoken acknowledgement of the grim realities of warfare. The humor masked the underlying tension. They were enmeshed in a world where technical mastery often led to human folly. As they delved deeper into the examination, they began to appreciate the Comet's engineering marvels. The wings designed to resemble a bird in flight, and the cockpit that barely accommodated a pilot. Each detail spoke not only of innovative prowess, but also of desperation. The German forces had aggressively pursued advancements in aviation in their quest for supremacy, and the Comet was a last-ditch effort to turn the tide of the war. The mechanics could see the irony. Cutting-edge technology, born from the fervor of defeat, now lay in the hands of its adversaries. It was a poignant reminder of how swiftly fortunes could shift in the theater of war, leaving behind remnants of ambition and hubris. One mechanic, Sergeant Bill Thompson, had flown numerous missions across the Pacific. He couldn't help but draw parallels between the Comet and the experimental aircraft he had seen in his own service. While American engineers had pushed boundaries with propeller-driven fighters, the Germans had opted for a reckless leap into the realm of rocket propulsion. This divergence was not merely technical, it represented differing philosophies about the nature of conflict. Where American designs emphasized stability and predictability, the Comet personified the chaotic hope of a nation on the brink. In that moment, Thompson realized that the war had not been fought solely in the skies, but within the minds of those who dared to innovate. Curiosity led the mechanics to question the Comet's operational history. They unearthed reports of its brief service. The few pilots who had tamed the roaring jet had met with fates both heroic and tragic. The aircraft, they learned, had an astonishing speed that could exceed 600 miles per hour, yet its operational window was limited, a mere 15 minutes of flight before the fuel was depleted. This ephemeral existence mirrored the fleeting nature of glory in warfare. The mechanics could almost hear the echoes of the pilots who had soared through the skies, wrestling with the duality of exhilaration and impending doom as they pushed the Comet to its limits. As they shared stories and insights, the camaraderie among them deepened. They were not merely technicians, they were witnesses to history, custodians of the legacies forged in fire. Within the clinks of tools and the hum of conversation, a sense of purpose emerged. They understood that their role in the war extended beyond the battlefield. It lay in the preservation and understanding of these relics. In examining the Comet, they were accessing a vital chapter of an ongoing narrative, one that scrutinized not just the enemy's capabilities, but also the moral lessons embedded in the tools of war. This newfound awareness prevailed as they meticulously documented their findings, ensuring that the Comet would be remembered not just as an anomaly of engineering, but also as a narrative of human endeavor. They debated the implications of such technologies in future conflicts, questioning whether innovation could ever escape the shadow of its origins. They knew all too well that the blending of ingenuity and destruction could have dire consequences. Yet, the laughter they shared over the Comet's volatile fuel hinted at a resilience that transcended the grim realities they faced. A reminder that even in darkness, there could be levity. As dusk settled, the aircraft cast long shadows, becoming a silent witness to the stories unfolding around it. Mechanic after mechanic gathered their tools, but each lingered a moment longer, stealing one last glance at the aircraft that had become the nexus of their thoughts. In its cold metal, they saw the reflection of their struggles, aspirations, and the lessons learned from a global conflict that had upended lives and reshaped nations. The comet served not just as a curiosity, but as a critical juncture in their own understanding of war and peace, a testament to the remarkable, if troubling, innovations that could arise in humanity's quest for power. The laughter that had filled the air was not just mirth. It was a proclamation of their survival, their ability to find meaning amidst chaos, as they prepared to face an uncertain future informed by both history and hope. The mechanics gathered around the WWII comet, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of bare bulbs overhead. This marvel of engineering, a staunch German response to the aerial supremacy of the Allies, seemed almost too remarkable to be true. Its sleek, delta-wing design appeared to defy conventionality, a manifestation of the desperate innovation sought by German troops in the twilight of the war. As they inspected the aircraft, the complexity of its operational requirements became apparent. The propulsion system, utilizing a highly volatile mix of hydrazine and nitric acid, revealed a glaring contradiction in the pursuit of advanced technology. While it promised exceptional speed, it also demanded respect, a respect that the mechanics shared more through incredulity than fear. With each cautious examination, they discovered idiosyncrasies that bespoke a hurried production timeline rather than sleek engineering perfection. The comet's fuel storage, haphazardly integrated, lacked the safety features that would come with years of refinement. The mechanics chuckled amongst themselves as they thumbed through the maintenance manual, noting the comical brevity with which it addressed safety protocols. "Just avoid mixing the components outside of controlled conditions," read one passage, a line that carried with it a weight that none of them took lightly. It was a house of cards, and they were on the precipice of chaos. As laughter bubbled beneath their hardened veneer, a few mechanics recalled stories from their own experiences in the Pacific Theater. Each of them had witnessed the relentless march of technology, something that both sides strove to master amid the chaos of war. Yet the comet stood as an emblem of hubris, a testament to the lengths humanity would go to in hopes of overcoming its adversaries. The mechanics wondered if a semblance of common sense could have tempered the ambition to create an aircraft that could soar at speeds approaching 600 miles per hour while simultaneously being a ticking time bomb. The inspection revealed the comet's fuel system intricacies, a peculiar complexity that risked the very lives of those who operated it. They noted that even the slightest miscalculation, an uncontrolled spill, an unintentional mix, could lead to explosive results. The mechanics exchanged glances, the mirth in their laughter replaced by a palpable tension as they contemplated the ramifications of such a system in the hands of those trained under duress. This moment of clarity echoed the profound realization that the war was not merely a clash of nations, but a crucible that unveiled the fragility of human existence amidst the pursuit of technological advancement. Beneath the comet's surface lay a deeper narrative woven from desperation, fear, and innovation. Each aircraft produced was not only a testament to engineering prowess, but also a reflection of the psychological state of the German forces. Hitler's ambitions dictated a race for supremacy in the skies, and thus the Me-163 emerged from the crucible of war as a symbol of both brilliance and folly. It was a vehicle that embodied the contradictory spirit of the time, an emblem of both pride and impending doom. The mechanics felt an unsettling kinship with the machine. Both were remnants of a war that had spiraled beyond anyone's control. As they worked, their conversation drifted from technical specifications to the philosophical implications of their findings. They pondered the morality of such technology, built to serve an ideology that had cost millions their lives. In those moments, their laughter morphed into discussions of sacrifice, of human lives buoyed by the promise of technological superiority, yet ironically risking annihilation through innovation. The comet represented a turning point in more ways than one. It was an aircraft that could potentially change the tide of air warfare while simultaneously carrying the seeds of its own demise. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the hangar, a stark reminder of the war's impending conclusion. The mechanics felt a profound sense of duty, knowing that their work could affect the future of aviation, if only by providing crucial insights on this experimental aircraft. As the last of the sunlight faded, they understood that they stood at the crossroads of history. The comet was the embodiment of a desperate push for aerial dominance, one that would ultimately yield mixed results. Each careful adjustment and thorough inspection held the potential to elucidate the lessons learned, or rather, the lessons overlooked, in the race to harness the skies. They stepped back to admire the Mi-163, its contours, sharp and aggressive as a predator, silhouetted against the dim light. In that moment, the mechanics recognized the weight of their responsibility. They were not merely fixing a machine. They were engaging with a legacy, one that would transcend borders and offer insights into the very nature of warfare and innovation. Their laughter had given way to contemplation, a fitting tribute to an aircraft that embodied the duality of human ambition, the drive to create intertwined with the risk of destruction. The Mi-163 Comet, stripped of its romantic artistry, stood as a reminder that progress is often born from chaos, a symbol of a world teetering on the brink of transformation, one fueled by both dreams and nightmares. As the laughter of the U.S. Air Force mechanics echoed through the hangar, it served as a sobering reminder of the thin line between humor and the grave realities of war. The Mi-163 Comet, a marvel of engineering, embodied the complexities of technological innovation amid human conflict. Its volatile fuel, capable of explosive reactions with mere mixing, mirrored the precarious nature of wartime decisions, where the pursuit of advancement often danced with catastrophic consequences. This moment, tinged with irony, invites us to reflect on the duality of progress, how scientific breakthroughs can simultaneously herald hope and destruction. The mechanics' chuckles masked a deeper understanding of the stakes involved in their occupation, where each aircraft they inspected was a testament to both ingenuity and the price of conflict. As we look back on such moments in history, we are called to recognize our ongoing responsibility in shaping a world where technology serves humanity rather than threatens it. The legacy of these encounters lingers, reminding us of the imperative to confront the ethical dimensions of our advancements, ensuring that future generations learn from the past as they navigate the complexities of their own technological landscapes.